Greetings, Star Trek Fleet Commanders. I am the Angry Rhino. Today I'm going to be talking about loot bonuses in Armadas. Been discussing, I guess, several videos I've mentioned such and such gets this loot bonus and this, that, and the other, and it's spilling out in the comments now, which is awesome for me. Hopefully you guys are liking it too. We're talking about the Talios. The research for the Talios to get more loot in the Bolos. I'm stealing Blue Mandalorian's term there. I think initially I thought it just applied to the Talios, but it would seem that it does not apply just to the Talios. Essentially, it applies to the whole Armada, and it boosts the loot you gain in general by any ship. Now, it does make the research a little better. It does. But at the same time, it costs charged nanoprobes. In my opinion, it costs a little too many. But that would be for you to decide. So, yes, you are going to get more loot just by using the Talios. It's not going to be just applied to the ship. But is it worth all the charged nanoprobes to you? Something only you can decide, really. I think I'm probably going to hold off a little bit. Partly because of my level, and my Talios really needs to be higher. So it's more around my level. Another thing, I think I've mentioned this before. Honestly don't remember. Pretty sure I have. But I don't remember seeing or gathering any, call it, actual evidence that it is better. And I'm talking about the Franklin A. This is a little late since the event ended already, but I was doing a bunch of solos for whatever event that was. I think it was under the Beverly bucket thing. So because of my ships and how I'm punching up and such, I can take these rares. You can see that on the screen here. I can take them with 2 ships. So instead of using 3 ships and having the loot divided between the 3 ships, a tactic you can use is use 2 ships, and then it just gets divided between the 2 ships. Especially, you put 5 on your biggest ship. You don't want that 3rd ship kind of taking away some bonus loot. And I almost tapped on the rewards thing, but this isn't a battle log. This is a screenshot. I told myself like twice before I started this video to not do that, like an idiot, but oh well. I'm trying to remember what was the number. I think it was like 684 and 682. Or 644 and 648. I'm going to show you 2 Armadas, both rares, Jemadar 52s. They were only about 2,000 or 3,000 loot difference between the 2. As you can see here, the one that I 2 shipped with the Coronar and the Pilum, 3.2 rare credits, 488 edicts. Yay, swiping. This one, you can see here I have the Franklin A with Jayla. Maybe that's why I haven't talked about it too much. You kind of have to have Jayla, otherwise this isn't going to work at all. Pay no attention to the damage of the Pilum and the Coronar that's not from just this one Armada. Definitely up there running like 4 or 5 a hull with those ships. Franklin A, sadly, only lasted one Armada, which is kind of the downside to this tactic. And by tactic, I mean, look at those numbers. You got more. I got more here. Now it's not too much more. It's only what? I didn't math it out. 140,000, which isn't. It doesn't sound like a whole lot, but if your chest costs 3 or 4 million or whatever, getting an extra 140,000, you do 6 of them, and that's an extra 800,000 or whatever it is. Something else I noted, or I did realize a while ago, I guess I get into these videos sometimes and I completely forget what the hell I was talking about or was going to talk about. Why I didn't really pay that much attention to trying to record what the base loot was of the Armada. Because, especially when we're talking about rares versus rare, depending on how you flip your ships around to try to get more loot. If you're talking about the same rare, epic, or uncommon, or however, the edicts are going to be the same. The main Armada credit is going to be different, but the edicts are going to be the same. So, you don't really need to remember what the base reward is for the Armada because you can tell by the edicts. At least with the Jem'Hadars. And you can see 491 edicts versus 488 edicts. Now, that's not a whole lot. I get that. And if you really worry about edicts, you should probably use them to Defiant. I'm not there yet. Not really liking the ship. Part of it is it's taking a while to tier it up to where I need it to be, and when levels on the thing sucks. Alright, purpose of this video. Franklin A with Jayla. Or even technically the Franklin should work if you want to use the Franklin. Her captain ability is going to double the loot that she's gaining on her ship. So yeah, if your Franklin is noticeably smaller, you're not going to have that much loot gain. But as you can see with me here, my Franklin A is noticeably smaller. It really is. It's a fifth the size of the Coronar, and it's a sixth the size of the Pilum. But more loot is more loot, and if that's something you're interested in, then here is what I'm calling visual evidence that the Franklin A with Jayla as captain is going to add to your loot gain. I think that's it. Is that it? Now, what crews do you use for the Franklin A? Tried a few different ones. The problem is Jayla needs to be captain. So you can't use any other officer abilities. Like you can't use Cisco and think you're going to get that mitigation. It's not going to happen because it's his captain ability, and then you won't get Jayla's loot ability. I think originally I started using Kirk and Spock, mostly because I don't know why. They were available. But this is me not taking my own advice when I say the shields, when your shields get to like 3 or 4 million, use mitigation. So I tried to, I didn't do that actually for this Armada. This Armada had Kirk Spock, but I guess this morning before the event ended, I did put Beverly and Martok, I guess. The only one that I know, yeah, it was Martok. For even more mitigation. Now, you could use Kirk Zhao. It's an option for you, but I would get more mitigation with Beverly and Martok than Kirk and Zhao. Because Zhao's only like 300%. My Beverly's 250, and Martok is whatever he is. I don't remember. Now, when I was running Kirk and Spock, the Franklin 8 died every time. When I switched to Beverly and Martok, on the epics it died all the time, but on the rares, 1 in 3, 1 in 4, it actually survived. So, there's that. The crew would apply the same way I've been saying. If your shields are 3 or 4 million or higher, use mitigation. If you're closer to 2 million, probably run Kirk Spock. But at the same time, it's something you're going to have to experiment with. I don't know your research is. I don't know what other things affect ship size, buildings, fleet commanders, what have you, or the tier of your officers. So, again, I can only give you some information, and some of this you're just going to have to do yourself. But I can give you some ideas of how to, at least in this case, increase your loot and hopefully still win the Armada. Because that's number one. Remember that. Like, you can get all these loot boosts that you want. If you don't win the Armada, you get nothing. So all that boost you were trying to get is useless. It's going to do it for today. Comment below. How's this going for you? You getting all kind of goodies from your Jem'Hadar solos and your Borg solos? I don't think the Franklin A is going to be that good on the Borg solos. It's not going to help at all. It's going to take one shot, get wiped out, and it's not even going to do any damage to it. The loot theory should be correct if you don't want to use charged nanoprobes on your Talios research yet. But it's definitely going to be, the ship itself is definitely going to fare a lot worse in the Borg spheres than the Jem'Hadars. Alright, I'm really going to go this time. Be sure to like and subscribe. I am the Angry Rhino. Shields up, Commanders.